All right, so I guess you would say class is in session. Um, as you see here, this is a what they refer to as a live audio versus a live video, and something that I'm working on learning how to use and have several business implications in mind. But similar to a lot of things that I'm doing and learning how to do better, thanks be unto God, is to have my efforts when it comes to knowing that you have multiple projects, multiple things you need to do. And honestly, sometimes sitting down and just strategizing better how one action, one completed project can serve multiple aims. And so this is one of those great examples of that. I will mention some of the aims, not mention some of the others. But man, this is cool too because it's also allowing me to use my skills as a teacher. I am currently employed as an adjunct English instructor with a certain institution that I will not name just because we didn't talk about that first. But at any rate, it's pretty much what I do with my students. And so, as you see, the title is Communication 101. And really, this is not me here to teach or criticize anybody. If anything, it's more me sharing my business practices. And it will, in my opinion, also help current contributors, current collaborators, sponsors, and the like just kind of even those that potential contributors and whatnot, lack of a better phrase, to kind of just know how or what to expect when it comes to working with Rainbow Room Publishing or working with Eddie S. Pierce in, I guess you would call, like I said, a public figure capacity. And so, Communication 101 really for me is just today, at least, just about talking about the idea of emails. I know that we are in a generation now where we have so many options on how to communicate. And I just found from my almost 10 years of doing this and interacting with anyone on any business capacity that email still seems to be the standard. I know that we can use DMs and instant messaging and text messages and voice notes and all of that. And I think all of those have their place. But I just know for me, what works best is email, especially if nothing else, I have something I can go back and refer to from our previous conversation, rather than me saying, oh, I'm working in the middle of the night and here's this piece of information I had to find, and now I got to go call somebody, or, even with a keyword search in those messengers, it's cumbersome in comparison to emails, at least for me. But my thing there also is that once you've established, you may have even introduced the conversation. That happens a lot with me. A lot of conversations get introduced in messengers, text messages, things of that nature. But then I always advocate for moving the conversation to an email. Address or an email communication. And so, for the most part, it works pretty well. But I have to admit, I was looking at some different things that I feel like I am supposed to say were a bit of a frustration. Largely just because I know I'm doing a lot and I need to slow down. But then in other respects, I think I was just more so this thing that God wanted me to make sure that I put out, that when it comes to Rainbow Room Publishing, you'll see it every now and again. You'll see different memes and things I've made, or infographics, I think they're called now, that just talks about, the different best practices that I employ, the company employs, most of our associates employ. And, it's ideally some tips and some strategies for you to consider, and you'll see that sort of thing. But one of the things that always comes up is this idea that, not idea, but the notion that Rainbow Room Publishing always has a plan, a backup plan, a backup to the backup to the backup to the backup to the backup, chop, chop, slide, backup, backup, backup to the plan. And so, whenever things, especially, are time sensitive and I'm not seeing that agreed upon communication, my wheels are already in gear to switch to the alternative potential collaborator, the alternative potential vendor, the alternative potential artist, interviewer, that sort of thing. And that's not to say that there's never a time to circle back. Sometimes it's just the timing is just bad. And it's just better to have at least started, the conversation, but just being mindful of that communication and how it, like everything else, is your first impression. I know this from my side of reaching out to so many of you and working so well with so many of you that if communication is not timely, it kind of lends itself to the sense of this is not very important to you, or that it may not seem very important to me. Now, that's not to say that you pull out your hair trying to respond to your emails all the time, but it is one of those things that, as a business, in any job you have, anybody that does a lot of communication, you always find that you got to go and check some voicemails, you got to respond to some mail, you got to, check some emails. And so I'm just advocating for people being mindful of that impression. One of the things that also sets those wheels for me in motion, saying, hey, this was great. I was ready to work with person A, but it's been a week or two. There's been no response, even just to say, hey, I got the email and let me hit you back. But then, because we're all on social media, and I'm not trying to police anybody's life, but we're all on social media. And when I see, oh, it's laughable now, but it wasn't earlier. When I see this person that I'm waiting for a response from via an email living their best life on social media, it sends a bad impression. It's not even a thing of getting mad or anything, but it just tells me, okay, this person's not ready. Things need to happen. They need to happen now. They need to happen soon. And, you know, God is even showing me lately, don't chase anybody. Don't chase. Actually, he's been telling me that for a long, long time. I kind of did a little of that today out of necessity, not mad at anybody, not pointing anybody out. But I know the time for it has ended. Even when there is, a team of people that would handle all that for me, it's just not how any publishing company I've ever heard of operates. So, just know that, just be mindful, not even just with me. I'm hoping that this goes well beyond any person that I may have the blessing and the privilege to work with. But just be mindful of those little things, those little impressions. We're not talking about your quote unquote place of employment per se, because I'm a big advocate of not having your place of employment necessarily connected to your social media personal life. But if you are networking, which is one of the things that I believe that social media was really more so about, if you're networking and doing business, and we're all using social media, because it is a free way to promote, to network, to communicate, and that sort of thing. Just be mindful of the impression you give to that person that really wants to collaborate with you when you're out there, you got to do your life, you got to live your life. But when you don't even see the smallest thing, like I said, where there's just an acknowledgement that, hey, I've read this or I've received this, give me some time to respond back. I hope that helps somebody. Please know that even as I say stuff like this and do stuff like this, the words echo back to me. Some of you have seen, and I wanted to definitely thank you guys publicly in some way, for those of you who have been patient in that last 3 weeks of the quote unquote staycation, light duty situation, where you were seeing where if you emailed me, you saw automated responses. That's something else you might think about doing. Automated responses saying that, hey, I'm on vacation and, I received your message. It will be responded to in a timely manner, that sort of thing. There's so many little options. It's ridiculous. There's so many little options that we can all take advantage of. A lot of them free, that will, in my opinion, not only get us where we're all trying to go, but potentially get us there quicker. The blessing of technology right now is just wow. to borrow the phrase, our ancestors' wildest dreams. And to be quite honest, this is not something that they even conceived of. But I'm just saying that this is the way, I don't want to say it that way. This is potentially the way to get the word out about what you're doing, to make those business connections, to make those great first lasting impressions that turns into situations where the persons that's been doing my book covers have been the same persons since the first year 9 years ago. And we're both very busy people, but there's some acknowledgement of, hey, I got your message. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Ideally look for, something within 48 hours. I myself am learning that I got to give myself more time when I tell people things like that. But even when I don't, when I see the deadline approaching and I'm hours away from it at the very least, or a day away from it, there's a quick email. Hey, I just told you that I was going to get this back to you in 48 hours. I did not give myself enough time. I'm sorry about the inconvenience. Drop the pride. Be transparent. Let them know that you still want to do business and that life happens and you need more time. It's a very understandable thing. And I think any business that can't respect that happening as an occurrence, not a trend, you probably don't want to do business with anyway. So there's my little bit of wisdom. As we say in the great fraternity that is Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, that is my $19.14 on this Monday, which I hope is a blessed one for you. And I hope that there was some little kernel of knowledge, even a bit of entertainment. What did I say my aims are? We educate, we entertain, we inspire. So hopefully you got one of those three, if not all three. Another thing the Father is constantly telling me is you don't need disclaimers. You have a great sign off. Love, peace, and blessings.